There are 5 clear signs that a leader is weak, and I mean genuinely weak, not just inexperienced, not just new to the role, but operating in a way that actively damages their team and their results. I strongly recommend you watch this all the way to the end, because you might find something in here that applies to you, or you might recognize someone you recently promoted into a leadership role and suddenly understand why things are not working out the way you expected. And here is the important thing. None of this is a life sentence. Every single one of these weaknesses can be fixed. A leader can change their approach, change their behavior, and completely turn things around. When they do, they get better results and they actually start enjoying their work a whole lot more. So let's get into it. The first sign of a weak leader is that they set the bar too low for their people. They are too soft, not demanding enough. And look, people do not always work at full capacity. That is just human nature. People get distracted. They scroll social media. They procrastinate. They get lazy. Because working at full effort actually requires energy, focus, and willpower. And a lot of people simply do not want to push that hard if they do not have to. And this is actually one of the most important jobs a leader has. Helping their people not to be lazy. Helping them stay focused, push through, work with the right priorities. Because here is something interesting. The most important tasks are almost always the ones that get dropped first. Why? Because they require the most effort. They are usually new, unfamiliar, mentally demanding. They require actual thinking, not just going through the motions. So what does a weak leader do in this situation? They set a deadline, the employee misses it, and the leader just lets it go. Sets another deadline. That one gets missed too. And then another, until finally the situation becomes critical and the leader either rolls up their own sleeves and does the work themselves, or takes the task away and gives it to someone else. And then the whole cycle repeats, again and again and again. Here is something you need to understand. Your people are always testing you. Always. Every employee has a choice. They can jump on a task and do it well, or they can drag their feet until it gets taken away from them. And if dragging their feet has no consequences, if nothing actually happens when they do not deliver, well, why would they bother putting in the effort? So people test their leader. And this is completely normal. What matters is how the leader responds. If your people figure out that you are like a bulldog, that you will not let go, that you will absolutely follow through until the task gets done, they will start delivering. Every time. But if they figure out that you tend to forget, or hand things off or look the other way, they will learn that too. And you will have trained them to be exactly as unproductive as they want to be. So what do you actually do when someone misses a deadline? First, stay calm. Ask questions. Find out what happened. Was there a real obstacle? Was there a genuine reason it could not get done? In most cases, honestly, the vast majority of cases, there was no real reason. The task was not impossible. The employee simply did not treat it as a priority. So you acknowledge that and you give them a new deadline. And then you hold the line. Every time it slips, you increase the pressure, slightly, steadily, but without losing your composure. You explain clearly that you are not going to drop this, that the task needs to get done, one way or another. You do intermediate check-ins. You connect the task to the bigger picture. Explain how it affects other people on the team, other departments, the company as a whole. And you do all of this in a firm, persistent, and completely friendly way. Why friendly? Because the moment you get aggressive, raise your voice, or show frustration, you hand your employee an excuse. Now they have a reason to disengage. Now it is not about the task anymore, it is about the conflict. You just made their job easier. Being patient and persistent while staying positive is genuinely hard. Our emotions naturally rise when someone repeatedly breaks a promise, but leadership is a specific role that requires a specific kind of discipline. So stay friendly and keep demanding. Keep demanding. And something almost magical starts to happen. When your people realize you will never give up, that the task is going to get done no matter what, they start delivering faster, cleaner, and with far less drama every single time. The second sign of a weak leader is the opposite problem. A leader who gives all the answers. This is the fixer type. The person who knows everything, loves being the smartest in the room, loves making decisions, loves handing out ready-made solutions to every problem. And what they do not realize is that they are slowly training their people not to think. By always providing the answer, they are actively teaching their team to stop using their own judgment. They reward dependence with their time and attention. And the result? A team that cannot function without them. The moment this leader is busy, traveling, or unavailable, everything stops. Now you might be thinking, but what if my people actually cannot make good decisions on their own? What if they will mess things up without me? Fair question. And honestly, if you have spent years being the answer machine, that might genuinely be true. You may have created that problem yourself. I know because I was that person. In my business back in the 90s, a production company, I genuinely loved being the one who solved everything. Designers, salespeople, production teams, everyone came to me. I thought I was incredible. The guy with all the answers. I had no idea I was building a trap for myself. So how do you get out of it? Gradually, you start training your people to think for themselves. I actually put a physical sign on my desk. It said, "Do not give answers. Ask questions." And whenever someone came to me with a problem, instead of solving it, I would say, "What do you think we should do? Why do you think that? Walk me through your reasoning." Yes, it took more time at first, but most of the time their ideas were actually good. Often, all I had to say was, "Great thinking, go make it happen." And here is the thing. People enjoy executing their own ideas far more than carrying out instructions handed down from above. When their idea was not quite right, it was usually because they had missed something. So I would ask another question to surface what they had not considered. Not to correct them, to guide them to a better answer themselves. This takes patience. But the payoff is enormous. You end up with a team of people who think independently, solve problems on their own, and grow as professionals. And you stop being the only person in the room who can keep things moving. The third sign is micromanagement. This is the leader who needs to control every single step their people take. They look over everyone's shoulders, every document, every email. Every client communication needs their approval first. Every intermediate stage of every project needs a check-in. And this creates two serious problems. First, your best people hate it. Talented, driven individuals cannot stand being micromanaged. It signals that you do not trust them. And talented people have options. They will leave. They will find a leader who respects their ability to do their job. Second, micromanagement is an enormous waste of your time. If you are tracking every document and every small step, when are you actually thinking? When are you planning? When are you developing your team and growing the business? You are so deep in the details that you have lost the ability to lead at the level you are supposed to. The desire behind micromanagement is understandable. You want quality. You want consistency. You do not want mistakes slipping through. That is a good instinct. But the answer is not surveillance. The answer is learning how to plan and manage your team's work properly, with the right systems, the right checkpoints, and the right level of trust built over time. The fourth sign is the leader who confuses being busy with being effective. This is the hard worker type, the one who is always at the office, always grinding, always the last to leave. They wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. They believe that more hours equals more results, and they often push that same standard onto their team. But here is the reality. The most successful entrepreneurs and business builders in the world do not work 1,000 times more hours than the average small business owner who barely gets by. That is not how success works. Time does not determine your results. Hours worked do not determine the size of your company or how much you earn. What does determine it? Planning, priorities. If you want to achieve big things, you need to do something every single day that actually moves you toward your goal, not just react to whatever lands on your desk. Not just clear your inbox, not just survive the day. Actually move toward where you want to go. Here is a very practical piece of advice. Plan for 30 to 35 hours of work per week. Not 50, not 60, 35. Because life will always add more on top. Unexpected things always show up. But within those planned hours, prioritize the tasks that actually matter for your goals. Do at least one meaningful thing every day that moves the needle. That is how you build something over time, not by grinding yourself and everyone around you into the ground. The fifth sign, and this one is more common than most leaders want to admit, is a leader who only notices the negative. They only see mistakes. The moment something goes wrong, they are on it immediately, calling the employee out, pointing out the failure, making the correction. And that part is fine. That is actually the job, but yesterday that same employee did a dozen things right. They hit their numbers. They handled a difficult situation well. They went the extra mile on something, and nobody said a word about any of it. Here is why this happens. When things are working, leaders tend to ignore them. The instinct is, it is fine, do not touch it. Move on to the next problem. And leaders always have problems to deal with. So the good stuff gets invisible and the bad stuff gets all the attention. Over time, this creates two real problems. For the team, people start to feel like the only time their leader notices them is when they mess up. That wears people down. It kills motivation, and people internalize it. They stop feeling pride in their work because nobody is reflecting it back to them. For the leader, and this one is subtle but important, when you only interact with your people around problems, you start to feel negatively about them. You start dreading those interactions. You become the grumpy boss who everyone avoids. And you lose the emotional connection that actually makes leadership work. On the other hand, when you regularly acknowledge what people are doing well, genuinely specifically, something shifts. You feel more warmth toward them. They feel more connected to you. Managing them becomes easier and more natural. The whole energy of the team changes. If you have ever had that feeling where you just do not want to deal with your team anymore, where every interaction feels like a burden, it is almost certainly because you have stopped recognizing what they are doing right. The fix is simple. Start noticing the good stuff. Say it out loud. Be specific. Yes, you still need to catch and correct mistakes. That is non-negotiable. But create a real balance. For every correction, find something worth acknowledging. Not fake praise, real recognition of real results. This is healthy for them. And honestly, it is even more important for you. Because your desire to actually be around your people, to engage with them, support them, is the absolute foundation of doing this job well. So there they are. 5 signs of a weak leader. Setting the bar too low. Giving all the answers instead of asking questions. Micromanaging every step. Confusing busyness with productivity. And only ever noticing what goes wrong. None of these are personality flaws. None of them make you a bad person. They are habits, patterns, and every single one of them can be changed. Starting today, starting with one small decision to do things differently. The leaders who grow are not the ones who never make these mistakes. They are the ones who recognize them, own them, and do the work to correct them. If you saw yourself in any of these 5 signs, that is actually a good thing, because awareness is always the first step. And if this video gave you something useful, share it with a leader who needs to hear it. Sometimes one conversation changes everything. See you in the next one.